All right, good afternoon. Happy Monday. Albert, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Just kind of jamming to your tunes you got going on.
You like that?
Yeah, I'm doing
Yeah.
good, man. Weather is nice today after all that rain we got yesterday, and just enjoying life, man. Another week has started, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's spring. Spring is springing. It's has sprunging. So new things are coming to life.
Hmm.
Little baby deals are hatching. And I went out for a run this morning. In one view, I saw deer, ducks, rabbits, and squirrels. It was like Bambi. I was watching Bambi in real life this morning. So the rain
That's
is
awesome,
out.
man.
There's water for the animals to drink, and there's real estate deals to make, to be purchased. There are huge opportunities right now. So, any big wins for you this last week, brother?
Uh, no, man. We've just got lots of stuff going on with the two duplexes, the three single family homes, and the flip. I was just thinking about that last week. I mean, we're building, let's see, three, four, five, six, 7 units, and we're flipping one. So we've got eight doors in progress at the moment. So, but they're all
Golly.
just kind of everything except for the flip is kind of in just in work, right? We
So
haven't.
you're juggling a number of projects at one time.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's the active income, right? So then we've got 11 rental properties, and then we manage another 11 more rental properties too on top
okay,
of that.
so give me an idea of your visual. Like, how do you keep a visual picture of this, of all the deals that you have going on at one time?
S- So, every Monday I have a set cadence every Monday. I get up, like once I get to my computer, I'm sending out it's kind of like working for corporate. I'm sending out an email that goes out to our teams, whether it's architects, partners, civil engineers, builder, and saying, "Hey, what's the update for this week?" For things that I know are taking longer or are going to take longer, I may do that every 2 weeks because there's some processes that literally can take 1 to 3 months to
Yeah.
complete when it comes to like getting permits, especially on the civil engineer side. With the flip, I kind of, after we have our call today, I'm going over to the flip because we have about a week and a half left, and then we'll be done with that. But that's kind of my cadence for all the active stuff. All of the passive stuff, like all of the rentals, those things with the processes and the software we have in place, I really don't do much with those until around the first of the month. And that's like confirming, rent's being paid on time, and we've got software that handles all that. Like right now, when I got up, because I know rent payments, my
Hmm.
mortgage payments come out on the 10th every month, because I give our renters time to pay the rent and then for that transfer to happen to my account. So
Yeah.
I go in and just double check, okay, cool. Our mortgage account where all the mortgages come out, I make sure like, okay, cool, we're good there. I'm not short anything or something didn't happen. I just do that every single month.
Got it. So
And then,
it's your rhythm of your schedule that you
yeah,
have.
yeah, definitely. There's definitely a rhythm. And then I have coaching calls. I have this call every Monday. I've got coaching calls on Wednesdays and Thursdays as well, but those are usually pretty short. And then everything else is lead generation. I take other impromptu coaching calls, accountability calls, things like that.
Awesome.
And I'm always helping some of our students. So that's kind of like my big picture. You asked like how I manage it is really all managed in my calendar.
Got it. You
Yeah.
don't have, we have a pipeline board on the wall
Mm.
that kind of shows, okay, here are the properties, here's where they are.
I don't have that many yet. I think if I had like maybe 10 or 20 active jobs going on, active projects, I'd probably have another board like right here that I can see every single day.
Got it.
But I haven't made it to that level yet, so I can still manage it.
So I'm very excited. We have a very special guest, and I want to introduce our guest. I asked this person to be on the show. Was it because of his extensive real estate experience? No, that's not the reason why. Was it because of his background investing and his expert knowledge on investing and managing properties? No, that's not the reason, Roy. In fact, Sean, uh, you can come off and introduce yourself. I want to introduce yourself to Sean because he has accomplished one of the most important steps in the real estate journey. Sean just put his first real estate property under contract. And so we're going to bring him on the show as a guest because we're just going to ask him a million questions and hopefully get him to be real nervous. I'm just kidding. We want to make sure that we're taking care of each other because this is a big step, buying your first real estate property, moving forward. Um, what, Sean, what caused you to finally make that decision? Why did you finally pull the trigger on this?
Um, because I don't know, I've kind of been like trying to think about and planning on buying a house and stuff, and I guess I was like kind of concerned about just having just a straight up income just kind of doesn't cut it in today's world. Um, and so I was kind of looking for something where I could like move out and buy a property that I could also have somebody else helping me out with paying the mortgage and stuff like that, and so that way I can get some free equity and hopefully it's not living free, but like have I don't know, just having some of those extra expenses kind of taken care of and stuff, and I don't know, this fourplex, it seemed like a great opportunity because it was like kind of sort of within my budget, and it allows like you were talking with the last episode, uh you're talking about like having to deal with like vacancies and how to operate around that, and then if this place has multiple units, it's a lot more lenient with that.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What are you talking about? Like because vacancy rates are never going to be zero or less likely to be zero. You're always going to have.
right, and yeah, it just seemed like I don't know, it kind of seemed like a no brainer to me because
Mhm.
I mean, of course, having multiple tenants also comes with its own challenges and stuff, but
Sure.
it just kind of seemed like a safer bet to try and just go ahead and invest. And like, since I haven't actually bought my first house, I'm currently, in a life situation where like, if I did just buy a house right now, I would have a house, but then I wouldn't, I don't know, with like my current uh, career path and stuff, I don't know if I'd be able to then, make a big investment later on.
Sure.
And so I was like, and kind of decided to pull the trigger and, start with the investing,
There
and
you go.
then I can figure out the other stuff later.
So you're at a stage in your life where you had the flexibility, you had the financial capital, and you found an
Right.
opportunity. You also mentioned something about vacancies,
Hmm.
knowing that a four unit is typically going to have less vacancies because a single unit's going to have, there's going to be a period of time where you're going to be 100% vacant, right?
Right. Yeah. And
Uh,
you're just taking the whole mortgage yourself.
so you always have something coming in when you have the multiple units. So
Right.
you're it's a little more diversified. Other than the vacancy issue, was there any other reason you decided to buy a four unit as opposed to like a single family house?
Um, it really wasn't like a specific thing. It was just kind of the opportunity just ended up right in front of me.
Hmm.
And it just seemed like the good idea. And since I was like, it's kind of in my price range, then I was like, I don't know, I feel like I should just go ahead and do this because uh, the opportunity presented itself.
Tell us a little bit about the market, where it is, and what what do you know about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess it's like low income housing kind of technically, but it's in the area that it's in. I mean, in theory, on paper, I should be able to fill that stuff immediately. And then, whenever if I run the rental comps show that it'd be like highly profitable, but if I'm even just low balling it at like the lowest rate that I could think of in the area, I mean, it's still like two tenants. Basically, that's paying the mortgage, and then if I get three or four tenants, that's just immediately doing a cash flow. Like even on the low end of the spectrum, I don't even have to shoot it high to try and maximize profitability and stuff.
Right, right. No, that's good. Albert, what question did you have?
I think I don't know because this was a surprise when you mentioned it to me last week about Sean's deal. Because Sean, how I know Sean is he's a partner in one of our deals, and I'm like, okay, cool. Then when you said that he had a fourplex, it's like, all right, this guy's moving. So I was just a little bit pleasantly surprised that he's making that decision now to get something. And yeah, buying a fourplex is pretty cool. I'm just a little bit more technical, so for me, it's just kind of when you first walk into the fourplex in this particular area, saying what you just said, like you mentioned the term no brainer, but it's not, nothing's really a no brainer, right? You still kind of have to run the numbers. And so for your very first deal, I think like for our new investors in our program, I always ask them like, what was it? Like, what did you see? What number was it? Was there something that was just be like that was just I got to do this deal instead of not your agent saying you got to do this deal, you know? What was it where that just made you think I had to get this. I have to get
Hmm.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess because there's kind of like an internal part of me where like I want to do something kind of more. I want something that's a little more fulfilling, and it just I don't know. I've talked to Austin for a while about trying to like find a place like this because a couple of years back we had tried for a place that had a house with a separate living unit in the back, and
Hmm.
I don't know. I see a lot of potential with the place,
Okay.
and I really want to find something to where I can put my time into and and build something.
Hmm.
Gotcha. Okay. That's
So you
fair. I
feel
like
you
that.
feel a little more confident about your risk factor, maybe in a market like this. Is this a market you're more familiar with?
Um, I mean, I would say with as familiar as I can be because yeah, it's my very first thing and just barely diving in.
Was there anything else about this property that gave you confidence going into it? Like what other factors about this property like made sense to you or just felt right moving forward?
Mhm. Um, I don't know. I mean, I really, I don't know. It just seems like I don't know. It just seemed like a really good deal.
Hmm.
And I, yeah.
Okay.
So then,
So,
go
you
ahead,
know,
Albert.
what was it then like kind of looking at this deal, we're kind of grilling you, right? So, what about this deal? Was there anything about this deal that you were kind of just unsure about? That you're just like, well, I don't know, but everything else looks okay and I kind of feel good about it. I mean, some of it is gut, right? Is a gut feel on some of these deals. But you definitely have to look at the numbers, especially on these fourplexes. You have a little bit more wiggle room
Hmm.
because, like we mentioned before, you got 4 units. So if somebody's not renting one of the units, you're not losing out on all the income.
Right.
But was there anything that you were just unsure about? Maybe location, the type of renter? You said you looked at rental comps. Is there anything like I want you to be really transparent here? Is there anything about the
Hmm.
deal, even at this point right now, that you're still unsure about?
Um, I mean, yeah, I guess I would say really just the whole part of having it be that second job and trying to learn, how to deal with renters and how to even get renters,
Hmm.
and deal with the insurance, deal with the screening of them, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff's definitely it's a little bit stressful thinking about it because I really don't know much about that stuff. I mean, from everything I've got some pretty good resources and stuff, and it seems like it shouldn't be that difficult to grasp, but it's definitely a slight concern of mine.
Well,
I'm looking
man,
at my
we
phone because you texted me recently, and now I know why because you were asking some questions about rentals, like long-term rentals and short-term rentals, and I was like, what is
Yeah,
he asking me this for? And I didn't know if you were asking for you. So yeah, this was back on February 25th, and then when Austin when Austin said that you had a property under contract, I'm like, okay, cool. But for what I'm seeing though is you're tapping into your network. You're tapping into your network, you're talking to people that you know and trust that are already doing this whenever you have questions.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, like none of us can do it for you unless you hire a property manager or something like that to kind of help you screen and place tenants and do things like that,
Right.
which I know Austin can help you with that too. But reaching out to people and asking questions, that's really good. Instead of just trying to, go to YouTube University and trying to figure this out on your own, you
Hmm.
do have a lot of support, and that's great.
That's
Right.
yeah, and we've been talking about that since the beginning of the show, how important it is to be connected with your network, come from curiosity, come from contribution.
Hmm.
So, Sean, I have good news from you. You are not alone. We didn't bring you on the show just to grill you and just to make you feel bad for not knowing all the answers. In fact, the purpose of this episode is to give you an opportunity to ask the same questions that other people are thinking about, and or maybe we'll hit on some ideas and some topics that maybe you haven't been thinking about. So we'd
Hmm.
like to give you some things to think about, and hopefully this will provide some value for everybody to take away. So let's start. I'm going to ask you a plan. You can turn the tables against us, Sean. So Albert
Okay.
has tons of experience with these properties. I have brokered, numerous hundreds of these kind of deals. So where are you in regards to maintenance? Because this is not a brand new project, is it? This is an older property.
Right.
So
Right.
what first tell us what are some maintenance issues that you're foreseeing on this, and what questions do you have for us in regards to the maintenance side of things?
Um, I mean, I guess some of the maintenance things that I've kind of saw at the property, is really like kind of three of them are basically ready to go. Need to fix a window on one of them, I know. And another one to basically have to finish some sheetrocking, I believe. And yeah, I guess like I'm a little bit concerned about the maintenance. Although, like I say, I feel like I have the proper resources. I know, plenty of people that you work with that deal with construction and renovating and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm a little bit concerned that like I'll have to dish out a little bit to like right before I can actually get people in there. But I guess I'll see more of all the specific details whenever I get the inspection report.
Because you have
Okay.
inspections this week. Um,
Right.
this is a. Do you know what year this property is?
I believe it was. I think it
Back
was
in the
40s.
1900s.
Yeah.
1940s, yeah.
Yeah. It's
Is it
little bit old.
is it currently occupied, like rent ready right now? Do you have renters in there now, or is it vacant?
No, it is completely vacant right now. So
Okay. So that makes like these maintenance and kind of capex, right? Where if you're doing like more major type repairs, that makes it a little bit easier. But then obviously when you're underwriting this after you get your inspection report back. So quick question, because and this is for you and Austin, I don't know too many details about the property, but are you guys currently in the option period? Because you mentioned inspection. So you're currently in the option period, inspection period right now of the
Uh, y-
properties?
yeah,
Okay.
correct. Inspection is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday.
Okay. So
So
then there's still some room to kind of negotiate this, with the inspection report.
100%,
Okay,
100%.
cool.
So
Perfect.
Sean, make sure you understand that going into it. So what you want to do is you want to take another look at similar properties that are selling in the area.
right.
So a lot of people will ask that question, like, what is the baseline? Like, what work should I do? Should I, paint everything white and change everything out for stainless steel
Hmm.
appliances? And the answer to that question is very practical and scientific. It is, well, what do the comps do?
Hmm.
Because if the comps still have appliances that are 25 years old and they still have all you know, the brown and the wood and older styles, then there's no data to indicate that you can make a profit by making those improvements when everything else is still, in the early
Right.
2000s or 1990s. So
Yeah.
identifying where the baseline is. So Windows may be a good
Hmm.
example too. If every property that you're running comps against have brand new windows, you're going to probably want to think about getting brand new windows.
Hmm.
But if they
Right.
don't, then you don't. It's just what are the comps doing, right?
Yeah. It
Right.
is it is very technical too, but not nothing to be intimidated by, right? Because you're just looking at data at this point, right? You're looking at data, you're looking at comps. You know, what we try to do with our rentals is exactly what Austin said, which is, do we do this? And my wife's answer is always, what do the comps say?
Mhm.
And for us, we want to be just one. It can be half a level. It doesn't have to be a full level,
Right.
just a little bit better than your competition,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
without, I mean, and trying to figure out what your budget is, but you want to be a little bit better than your competition because, you know, if everybody in this area is paying, let's say it is lower income and they're paying like $900 for a two bedroom or something like that, which is like very, very inexpensive. So lower income, it's not going to make sense for you to put quartz countertops, you know, LVP in every room. You know, you've got tile
Right.
backsplashes, and that's probably not going to make much sense, you know, because that's probably going to command a rent that's maybe 1,200, thirteen hundred
Hmm.
dollars, and you may not have the market in this area for
Yeah.
those types of
Right.
renters, right? So really just looking at things kind of side by side, and that'll help you determine too, like your whether it's a renovation budget or if you just want to, hey, let's just paint the cabinets, you know, to
Hmm.
update them a little bit. Let's re we put LVP like vinyl plank in all of the bedrooms
Yeah.
just because on everything we're going to keep because I don't want to deal with replacing carpet every few years.
Yeah.
Now, carpet is a
Yeah.
lot cheaper than vinyl, you know, but we just think the vinyl plank it looks better, it lasts longer, it's waterproof, and it's more forgiving, especially if you're how big are these units?
Like
Like
I
bedrooms,
believe.
bathrooms, bedroom, bathroom.
about 800 square feet.
But how many
Yeah.
beds,
Yeah.
baths per unit? Is it like a one?
Three of them have two bedrooms, which is a good
Right.
thing too. There are two bedroom units, and then there's a fourth one that's a one bedroom unit.
Right. So like in those two bedroom units, you may have a small family, right? You may have a couple with a kid or a couple with two kids or a couple with a kid and a baby, you know, and I'll tell you from having young kids and my first home having carpet in the bedrooms, that stuff gets ruined
Yeah.
within a few years, you
Hmm.
know? And
Yeah.
so if you want to pay somebody to keep replacing carpet or just pay a little bit extra up front and putting vinyl plank in those in the or putting luxury vinyl plank in those bedrooms. That's just a tip, you know, for keeping rentals. We want to take care of what I just want to say this, then we can move on to the next thing is getting done, like doing all of this maintenance that's probably been deferred, doing it now
Yeah.
because you have a job,
Right.
right? And maybe you have a property manager, maybe you're going to self-manage, but figuring out what it is that you can either get the seller to pay for or you pay for. So then that way you're not coming back because now you have a renter staying there and they're complaining because there's a leaky pipe or a loose
Hmm.
toilet or something else that's going on that you could have fixed ahead of time,
That's right.
right? So
Right.
that's another suggestion I would do.
Did you have any other
Okay.
questions
Okay.
about maintenance assumptions?
Um, I don't think so.
So next thing we want to talk about are vacancies. So you you mentioned something that we hear a lot that you feel like you're going to be more comfortable with a property that's not likely to have more than one vacancy at a time, correct?
Right.
So tell us about how you're going to how do you plan on handling those vacancies and what do you how do you feel like that's going to look like in the first 12 months? Because right now you're walking into a property that's 100% vacant.
Right.
So
Um,
what's your plan, Sean? How are you going to make that work?
I mean, I guess if I have vacancies, then I'll just have to pay for them while I'm sitting there, scrambling to try and fill them up. Uh,
Do you have an idea how long do you in your mind do you think that's going to take to fill those vacancies?
um, I guess it depends on what kind of maintenance that needs to be done first. I mean, I would think no more than 2 months.
Okay.
Like to me, I feel like that's overstating it. I feel like in that area, if everything is good to go, and I don't need to do any other maintenance on the particular units, I'm pretty confident that in that area that they'll fill up pretty quickly.
Okay.
Good.
Albert, how long do you think it will take to fill four units in a it's under a thousand
Well, it
dollars a
just really
unit.
kind of depends on that area, but I just know like one bedroom, two bedrooms. Depends on this market where he's at. But I would think that you can get those filled pretty quick, especially too if you accept Section 8. Um, it takes a little bit longer to fill them, but you typically have renters that stay longer,
Hmm.
if they have a Section 8 voucher. So Section 8, what I've discovered with our Section 8 renters is they don't like to move around. They like to stay in one place for longer periods of time because it is a process. You have to work with the different housing authorities wherever
Right.
you're at. You have to have proper things like some inspection things that are a little bit above and beyond, like carbon monoxide detectors and things like that are tamper proof. Like they have an internal like a lithium ion battery that you can't replace, but you have to kind of know those nuances when you're working with housing authorities, whether it's to Houston or wherever these are located. So, but for vacancy, I think the smaller units tend to get rented faster. They get and also they're at probably a much better price point for people.
Hmm.
If like for me, I'm renting out 3-bedroom houses for 1,800 $1,800. We got a 4-bedroom in League City that's almost $3,000. It depends on the market, and we've only dealt with probably less than 3% vacancy across our rental properties. We're probably anywhere from 1 to 3% vacancy on our properties
How
because
do
they're
you,
priced right.
Albert, how do you credit that quick turnover with those vacancies? If you're
Well,
at,
we put it in our lease agreement, Sean, and this is all information for you. We put it on our lease agreement that we can start marketing the property within 60 days of the end of the lease. And that's when we reach out to the renter 60 days before the end of the lease and talk to them either about a rent increase, the rent's going to stay the same, if they want to renew, and we give them a time to reply back, right? We give them a call to action. Like, what would you like to do? Let us know by this date. And that's usually 60 days before their lease expires. So
Okay.
we do have two renters that are moving out. So we have a couple vacancies that are coming up, but it's given us 2 months to plan, and we can market the property during that time. So we put our properties on the market usually about 30 to 45 days before the renters move out. It does take coordination because we self-manage, and that was kind of one of the things that we're talking about here. Is one of the other things to consider is, are you managing or is someone else going to manage it for you? If you're self-managing, I can help you, give you some tips on that. But we try to get ahead of it, Austin,
hmm
and that's how we kind of manage that. And we screen our tenants well. So that is super important, Sean, is making sure you screen your tenants well. Like, do not sleep on checking
Right.
references. Like, as a real estate investor, I check reference phone numbers and addresses and employer phone numbers and addresses.
hmm
If someone gives me an employer, a manager's phone number or a business phone number, I skip trace it because
Right.
I want to make sure that is actually going to a business and not going to somebody's relative that's just going to say whatever they want on the phone. And we've actually ruled people out if
Right.
they try to do those things,
Yeah.
you know? So a good property
Yeah.
manager is going to do that for you as well when they're screening for these tenants. They're going to go above and beyond and not just call the number. They're like, I'm checking numbers, I'm checking addresses, I'm doing Google searches, I'm looking at street views, right? I try to go above and beyond because there are people out there that are going to try to scam you just to get into your place.
Right.
Not to intimidate you or get you scared. It's just some things to watch out for.
It happens. Albert,
Yeah.
let me
It
ask you
does.
this question. So with that overlap of vacancy, you start marketing for that vacancy that's coming up 60 days prior to the
Mhm.
tenant vacating the property. When you
Mhm.
get interested you get leads on that property and they want to see, how do you handle showings? Because for
Mhm.
us on the brokerage side of it, that's been a big challenge showing properties that are occupied by tenants.
Yeah. So it's all communication, Austin, and we let our renters know, hey, we'll give you 24-hour notice. I mean, we've had agents show up to the property and call us and say, hey, I'm outside your property. Can I come look at it? And I've got, Julia's got to tell them no. If you read the listing, we put in there, it is currently occupied. Do not disturb the tenants. You need a 24-hour notice
Yeah,
for showings. And that's how it's set up in Showing Smart, right? When
right.
we list this on the MLS, you can't do a same day showing. It's going to be 24 hours. And so we coordinate that with our renters. If we're showing it the property, obviously we'll go in and let them in. We have a lockbox on the doors. Both of these tenants that are moving out, they have dogs, right? So we just make sure like, hey, we let the showing people know or the people that are coming to look at it, there's a pet on the premises. They'll
Hmm.
be in a crate. They'll be in this garage or thing. It takes a lot of coordination and communication, Austin, but it's not a hassle if
Right.
you let your renters know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Sean,
we handle
any
it pretty.
any other questions about vacancies or how to handle that?
No, because my only other question was promptly discussed about how to, if one tenant's starting to leave, and how you work
Mm,
in getting another one.
yeah.
And you don't wait till they're gone to try and do it. You're trying to do that like 60
No,
days in advance, and
Yeah.
that
you
should give you plenty of breathing room.
and our
That
and
was
our and
what
our
my next
property
question was going to
management software that we use is called Rent Ready. Turbo Tenant's another one that's out there. We use Rent Ready, and Rent Ready sends me an email 90 days before the lease
be. Hmm.
expires. And it says, "Hey, you have a lease that's going to expire in 90 days." It gives me a reminder.
Yeah.
Cool. There's a little tickler now in my brain. I need to start talking to my renters probably in the next 15 or 30 days. And I have a form email that I send them out. And here's what we're going to do. I run comps again to look and see what the
Hmm.
rents are available. And if there's a lot of rents that are a lot lower than we are in this area and it fits within my budget, I'll leave the rent the same. Like this was the first year that we left the rent the same on a few of our units just
Yeah.
because we know groceries are higher, gas is higher, like everything is more expensive and our expenses went up, but they didn't go up by too much
Right.
and we're still cash flow positive on every one of these rental properties. Okay, cool. Why don't we just take it and just keep it where it is and we let them know why we're keeping it where it is, so we start to kind of build some relationship capital with our renters, so
Hmm.
then when we do have to raise the rent, by $30, $40, $50, they remember, hey, we took it easy last year for you, but now we have to go up a little bit. So it's relationship based too.
If you're on the call, you have any good questions or suggestions for Sean? Sean is here to learn. We all are here to learn. Please, feel free to come off mute, or you can text your question in the chat box, and we'll
Mhm.
be sure to address those.
Yeah, we might have to bring Sean back on next week because this is a very, very informative show today. Like
Yeah.
super informative. It's filled with a ton of action. Sean, you're getting a lot of good nuggets out of this. And
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna make it through everything. It's so good.
No, we're not. We're not. So there's three questions I want to hit real quick, and we can rapid fire these. You mentioned Section 8. Sean, have you thought about affordable housing programs?
Um, I have not. That is brand new knowledge to me to think about.
You need
Are
to
you
think
in the
about
city
it.
of Houston? Are these in the city of Houston or Harris County? Like where is this at?
It's in Harris.
Yeah, it's in Pasadena and Harris County.
Okay, yeah. So each city typically has their own housing authority. So Pasadena may have their own like Pasadena Housing Authority. I don't know if they're big enough to have one, but I would kind of start there by Googling Pasadena Housing
Okay.
Authority. And then they typically have landlord resources that will kind of give you an idea of how much of like what's the maximum voucher amount, because that's what these people get. They get a voucher that will cover rent. Um, and it'll tell you just choose one bedroom and it'll say, okay, they'll cover $900.
Yeah.
Now, don't get misled. That $900, that particular amount typically is rent and bills.
Hmm.
So if you offer
Hmm.
something that is all bills paid, then the housing authority will cover up to that maximum amount.
Right.
But if the renter is responsible for bills, then that maximum amount 900, the housing
I'm
authority.
gonna do it on mine, the new one that you.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
What was that, Laura?
Oh, sorry, I didn't get it on accident.
Oh,
The
no.
second question I have for you, Sean, is pets. I know you're a dog lover.
Hmm.
Have you thought
Yeah.
about pets?
I haven't thought too much about it. I mean, I definitely want to be the type of person that allows pets because everybody has pets now.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I guess that would be a good question to ask, like, because I guess it'd be kind of concerning since it's four units so close together, that there could potentially be
Mhm.
conflicts with multiple tenants having pets and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's a good, yeah.
So,
I didn't think of that.
so I mean,
a good question. What I hear you're asking is what type of complications maybe we run into in a small
yeah.
fourplex with the pets.
Hmm.
The number one that I can think of is just a loud dog barking at odd times of the
Yeah.
day, especially if you have people that are working and they leave their dog kenneled up in the house.
Yeah.
Um, it's from what I know about this property, it's not going to be an easy property for a dog to just go out in the backyard and live its life. It's not going to be quite that simple. So you may want to you may want to consider a weight limit. Albert and I talked about that 2 weeks ago on the show.
Hmm.
We talked about pets. Um, Maybe having a weight limit, or we talked about aggressive breeds or whatever aggressive breed
Yeah.
is concerned considered to be an aggressive breed.
Yeah, and then you think about the size of these units too, right? Because you're talking about 800, square feet, 890 square feet. I don't think I want an 80-pound pit, pit bull in a small unit like that. There's just not enough room. Yeah, but weight limit's a good thing. Weight limit, and then Sean, what we do with our properties, all of ours are single family homes, so it's a little bit different. So we definitely have more space. Is some people charge a pet rent where they actually increase the
Hmm.
rent per month every month, across the lease. What we do is we just charge a pet fee. So it's a one-time fee upfront. They don't get it's not a deposit or anything like that. And it's mainly just to cover some incidental things. And Austin, we talked about that on one of the calls is I go and I do quarterly visits to all of our properties. So I get an opportunity to see, like, is the
Hmm.
dog tearing up the property? Is there something that's going on that I need to know about? Right. And then we would address that if we needed to. But, we've been very fortunate. All of the tenants that we've allowed dogs into is primarily dogs and some cats as well.
Right.
They've been taking care of the property very well.
Also, think about like if you have a tenant with an 80 or 90-pound Great Dane, that's not
Hmm.
fair for the dog to be in
Right.
that small unit. They're going to need a bigger space. They're going to need a backyard, and that's just not what's on the menu when it comes to this
Hmm.
property. So, I don't think it's reasonable for a tenant having a dog that big to think that this would be a good place for them to live. And then third thing, what about management? Are you thinking about self-managing? Are you thinking about outsourcing management services? We
Did we
may have
lose Sean?
lost him.
Okay.
Okay, no. So he's working. He's doing this while he's working. So what? I mean, what would you tell him?
I
Uh,
mean, it's more so whenever we're running the numbers, we're underwriting these properties, Austin, is we tell our students underwrite it as if, right? That as if
mhm.
you're going to have a management company run this
Yeah,
property for you. Here, Sean's back because then if the numbers work with a property manager, and you want to learn how to do this on your own to kind of get started, they're going to work even better.
yeah,
You'll just kind of more be of like a time deficit, right? You're probably putting more time into it than you're not really getting paid for it, right? But you're learning, Sean,
yeah.
like what were you going to decide to do with this? Self-manage or get a property manager?
Um, my goal is to self-manage so that way I can learn the ins and outs of it all. I know I'm a little bit concerned with what all that entails, and coming in as such a green thumb. But I or a greenhorn, I suppose. But
Mhm.
yeah, I would really like to try and do it myself because hopefully this is the first of many endeavors sometime down in the
Mhm.
future. And so I'd like to learn as much of it as I can.
Yeah. Albert makes a good point. Uh, you definitely should, and I think Albert and I are on the same page. Being this is your first property, you need to be very as involved in it as possible. If you go back and listen to our episode from 2 weeks ago, Albert mentioned that this is customer service, and so these tenants are your customers, and you want them
Right.
to have a good experience because we know a lot of investors, and Albert, you probably know this, that buy other properties and those tenants will follow them to the other properties. That's actually a
Mhm.
pretty common thing because they love living in
They
and
love the landlord, yeah.
they love the landlord. Um,
Yeah.
and the other thing is good tenants are going to refer good tenants. And so I think a referral
Mm.
from a good tenant is very valuable.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
what Albert said is operate as if you're able to hire a property manager, and he mentioned because those numbers you want those numbers to work as if you are paying that 8% to 10% for property
Hmm.
management. From the broker side, I would tell you if you take that property management expense into consideration, it's going to be much easier to sell on the pro forma down the road
Hmm.
when you decide to sell that property.
Hmm. Yeah. And then go back and look at all of our bookkeeping
Yeah.
and tax accounting episodes that we had because now with this 4 unit, once you guys get past and you guys go close on this thing, tracking all of your expenses, because Austin, you reminded me of that when you were talking about pro formas and in the future, if you ever decide to sell this 4 unit or just consolidate your portfolio, trade up, whatever it might be, if you have good numbers, right, you're keeping good records, your bookkeeping looks good, then it's very easy to justify your sales price.
Yeah.
If you've got a
Right.
shoebox of receipts and you're 2 years behind on your taxes on this thing and you're trying to sell it because you've got another deal in the hopper that you just want to trade up for, a savvy buyer is going to come, pick that thing apart,
Yeah.
right? So making sure you're keeping good
Right.
records, you're doing good bookkeeping. You may not necessarily need to hire a bookkeeper or an accountant at the moment if you're good at keeping your own records. You know, if you're
Right.
not, I look at it as just a necessary expense, that's going to
Yeah.
pay off later in the future.
And keep
Yeah.
use a separate checking account for that too.
Definitely. Definitely.
Hmm.
Have a checking account just for that property and
Yeah.
have everything go in and out of that one checking account.
Yep.
Yeah.
No
Cool.
commingling. Um,
Awesome.
Utilities. Who's paying the utilities here?
Yeah, that was another question. Yeah, I was like trying to figure out because I feel like I don't know. I guess yeah, with a fourplex, I mean, I guess you kind of need to split it up, right? Because I mean, it's not just going to be equal across the board, from each tenant.
So,
Do you have 4 meters or is it just 1 meter to the property? 4 meters? Yeah, because I mean, if you got 4 meters, then each tenant could take care of their own rent that
so I think
way.
this one, the electric meters
I'm
are
sorry, their own electrical. Sorry, their
the
own electric.
electric is separate on here, but the water
Water
is
might be
not.
one. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
You know, and water. I don't know like how Pasadena is, but I know typically your water expense is it's not that big of a deal. Like it's usually pretty low. It's anywhere from maybe like $60, $50 to $60, and that's like a family of four. You know. But even with a larger family, and again, these are smaller units, so you could just factor that into the rent,
Hmm.
Right.
kind of get some estimates on what that water bill is going to be, and maybe, bump up the rent a little bit. And
Yeah.
now you market this as, hey, we'll pay for the water, right? And most of these units like this in this
Yeah.
area, typically, I bet you if you called around, they probably include the water, but they've factored it into the rent somehow.
Right.
You could do it that way. You could also charge a separate fee for the
You could.
water. We call that RUPS, where you take the entire utility bill, you divide it by the square footage, and then you
Mm,
apply that to each
there
unit
you go.
based on their square footage. So
Oh yeah.
the 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 pro, you can market it as the water's included, but if you market it as the water separately, then you can actually market at a lower list price, and sometimes you
Hmm.
may be able
Hmm.
to, so you can A/B test that strategy. But if it's,
Yeah.
even $35, like right now, like every penny counts,
Yeah.
every dollar counts.
Hmm.
But other than
Yeah.
that, you shouldn't. I mean, you're not going to provide internet. You're not going to provide cable. That's, the only thing you're really providing is trash and water, and
Right.
that's typically going to go through the city.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So, taxes and insurance changing after the sale. Um, Albert, have you run into that where you wake up one day and your tax appraisal's through the roof?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Um, that and so this is why it's so important, man. Like you're kind of getting a little bit of the fire hose on this call, Sean. That's why I'm hoping like maybe we can stretch this out to 2 calls. But
Yeah.
you always want to what is it? Contest your tax appraisals, right? You want to go
Hmm.
and contest those tax appraisals because you want to try to keep your tax liability just as low as minimal as possible. But I don't know like what the financing terms of this deal are, if you're going long-term financing, if you're doing seller finance or whatever, but you're gonna have just like with, well, you haven't purchased your first home yet, or maybe you have purchased a home in the past, but you kind of have an escrow analysis every year. And that escrow analysis is going to take a look at what they saw, what your taxes were, what your insurance was the prior year. And if there's any, if you have a shortfall or if you have a windfall there, your mortgage could go up, you
Hmm.
know? So that's something that we've been surprised with in the past. Typically it goes up, maybe $30, $40, so it's not that big of a deal. But we just had a rental, it went up $200 per month. And these are some of the sub two deals that we closed on. We had one that went up $400 per month. I mean, it went from one to the next thing the next month.
That was just because of the property
That was
taxes.
just because of the property tax and insurance went up. So it's super important, Sean, to always shop around on your insurance. You can use the same broker, right? But make sure you're working with a broker that shops your insurance every single year.
Yeah.
You know, because insurance rates change, insurance companies drop out of the market. Typically, insurance costs go up. There have been instances, Austin, where like the tax amount of tax owed, has gone down
Yeah.
because
You
we've got a
protested.
company that actually contests all of our tax appraisals across our portfolio, and it has happened where tax liabilities have gone down a little bit, right? We're
Yeah.
not talking hundreds of dollars. It doesn't impact us $100 per month, but we've had maybe things go down like $40 a month,
Right.
on our rental, the mortgage payment. So,
That's it.
man,
That's it for
that's it.
time.
We're not
So,
even halfway done.
Sean, I think Albert and I want to invite you to come back because next week
Okay.
you'll have your inspection report.
Right.
You'll be past the hard part. So a lot of the unknowns is going to happen this week. Keep an eye on
Yeah.
those dates. Know when your option period is going to end, and then we can talk about
Yeah.
how we came out of this inspection period and how we may end up
Yeah.
negotiating with the seller again for something depending on what we
Yeah.
find on there.
I
Right.
think that I want to add one thing too. I think what this is a very unique opportunity for the people watching this is they're watching this live, right?
Hmm.
They're watching a deal happen live because we've talked about deals, we've underwritten deals, past deals, maybe some deals that we're working on in our own portfolio, but now we have an investor on the call sharing, offering insight, unknowns, questions. All this is happening live. I'm really excited to see how this goes for you, Sean.
Yeah. And I think it's because I've been watching, especially now with it moving to Spotify, it's a lot easier to check out the calls every week. And
Awesome.
yeah, and I feel like it's always because, like I said, I'm complete new with this stuff, and hopefully this will help other people that haven't got into it because I listen to y'all and then the experts that you have on and stuff, and a lot of the stuff just kind of that's all like it's not that's not like the starting information. That's all like up here, and it's like going into starting a new class and you're
Hmm.
starting in the second semester. You know what I mean? And so hopefully this will kind of start it at that first semester. For some people, myself included.
There's no better education than actually getting in there and doing it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can listen to every podcast in the world, every YouTube video. You're going to learn so much more just by actually just doing it. And that's what you're doing,
Right.
man. So congratulations.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, that concludes. That was episode 45 of the REI 101 podcast. My faithful buddy and co-host Alberto. Any final words?
No, man. Sean, I hope that this inspection goes well for you and nothing major. Austin, you're representing Sean, right?
Actually, I'm not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Sean. Dang. But make sure your agent, whoever's representing you, whether it's somebody, I don't know who it is, but make sure too, like they should be helping you with these dates that are upcoming, what Austin was telling you.
Yeah.
It is your responsibility to be aware of these dates because they're super important, like whenever your option period is
Hmm.
over and things like that. And working with your agent to negotiate any repairs or the price and things like that if you're gonna have to take care of things. But I'm really happy for you, man. I'm excited to see what happens with this and hoping that you get through option and start getting to closing. So
Absolutely. All
cool,
right,
cool,
Sean,
cool.
go get it. And everybody, thank you for being on the call. Don't forget, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Come hang out. Thanks for spending your lunch break. And for those of y'all that are spring breaking it, have a good spring break. Don't do anything stupid. Bye.
All right. See you next week.